Hey everyone. Yes, cut my hair. I feel like I should still go a little shorter. Like, we're trying to go for like a 90s bob vibe. Leave me a comment, yes or no. Should I go shorter? In today's video, I want to talk to you about buyer's remorse. So just like a haircut you might regret, buyer's remorse, I'm sure, is something that all of us have experienced at one time or another. It's that feeling of regret that can happen after you make a purchase, even one that you were really excited about. You start to question, did I really get a good deal? Did I make the right choice? What if something better comes along? And that becomes even harder when we've put a lot of time, research, and money into the purchase. The stuff we buy is so often tied to the person we see ourselves being. And when that item doesn't meet our expectations, well, it's a letdown. So knowing that we've all experienced and probably will experience buyer's remorse again, how do we at the very least minimize that? So in today's video, I'll share 10 ways to help stop feeling buyer's remorse so you can start feeling great about your purchases instead of regret. And this video is sponsored by my friends at ExpressVPN, but I'll talk about them more a little later on. The first way that's helped me minimize the feeling of buyer's remorse is by keeping a wish list. You guys know I talk about keeping a wish list all the time on my Instagram, TikTok, and here on YouTube. Follow me if you're not, and subscribe if you haven't. Would love to have you. But one of the best tools in my toolbox of mindful spending and delaying gratification is by keeping a wish list. All I do is keep it in the Notes app on my phone, and when I see something that I kind of like, instead of immediately going to add to cart like the way I used to, I instead put it on my wish list and give myself a cooling off period. You can set whatever time frame you want. It can be 24 hours, a week, even a month. But if you set the boundary of time against that impulse buy, not only do you give yourself some space to actually think about the purchase, but you give yourself some time to forget about it. For me, the wish list has not only been a game changer in reining in my impulse buying habits, but it also has really helped me sort of quell any buyer's remorse, because the pieces that I did end up buying, by the time it comes, I don't regret it because I've been able to make a plan for that money. I've planned for how I'm going to use the thing, style the pieces. By the time it arrives, I'm so excited, and it's money that I have felt happy to spend. And if it is a little disappointing, that leads me into my second tip, and that is to make sure you buy from a place with a good return policy. You want to make sure that the store offers full refunds within a decent return window, and ideally offers free returns where you don't have to pay any more duties or exorbitant shipping costs, which are all retailer strategies to help deter you from returning an item in the first place. So don't get caught up in that. Don't get caught up in the feeling of losing money and buyer's remorse by making sure you read the return policy up front. And if you are stuck with it, you can always try to sell it on like Facebook Marketplace or online. But if you ended up buying something that you just don't like, return it. Tip number 3 is to learn to be okay with missing out. I think a lot of buyer's remorse feelings start to stem from the thing not really meeting our expectations, or suddenly seeing that the item went on sale or a newer, better model just came out. This happens with technology all the time. You know, you buy a new laptop and then a month later you hear how the chip in your laptop is completely obsolete. Looking at you, Apple. So instead of getting caught up and worried about the fear of missing out, see if you can shift that mindset into JOMO, the joy of missing out. A lot of my pursuit of newer, better, and the perfect was because of buyer's remorse, because I could never really see what I had in front of me and the potential that all of that had. The truth is, in my experience at least, if an item that you purchase is well thought out, well researched, and well planned for, and it does what it's supposed to do for you, it's probably a good buy. So instead of being driven by the fear of missing out, embrace the joy of missing out instead, and see how you can shift your energy from I gotta find that next perfect thing to what do I have right now that can do just as well. It's a whole gratitude is the attitude thing, and believe me, it helps so much. Number 4 is making a minimum use policy. For example, if you're looking to buy something new for your wardrobe, can you make a minimum of 5 outfits using that one piece? Is this an item that you plan on wearing 30 times or more, or is it more of an occasion piece? Which there's nothing wrong with that, by the way, but if you create a minimum use or minimum style policy around that purchase ahead of time, it can help you come up with ideas to integrate that piece into your wardrobe or into your life instead of trying to figure it out on the fly after you've spent that money. Because the true key to any purchase we make is that we want to get use out of it. You know, whether that be like a piece in your wardrobe or like your Instant Pot, the intent was to get some use and some value out of that thing. So planning ahead in how you're gonna do that and how you're gonna integrate it with everything else you have in your life right now is a great way to make sure that that item isn't a buyer's remorse one. And before we keep going, I want to thank the sponsor of today's video, ExpressVPN. I think most of us spend the majority of our time online, and I think it's more important than ever to make sure that you're protecting you and your information. ExpressVPN protects your privacy online in just a few clicks. VPNs are important to ensure your browsing, your banking, and your personal info is protected online, no matter where you're connected, especially if you like to work at coffee shops and use public Wi-Fi often. Because anyone connected to the same Wi-Fi network can very easily steal your info like logins, credit card info, all the things that you want to keep private. You can use it on pretty much any of your devices, and when you connect to your VPN, it's still really fast. They have 24-hour customer support, and they're a top-rated VPN provider rated #1 by The Verge, Mashable, and many more. And you know, a VPN can also be pretty handy for more fun things like watching a show that's not available in your country on Netflix. There's 94 countries to choose from, so you can watch thousands of other shows anytime. Clueless is probably my favorite movie of all time, but it's not available on Canadian Netflix. So all I did was use my VPN to connect to the internet in the US, log into my Netflix, and I'm good to watch. Hopefully not sporadically.
As if!
So if you want to stay protected online or just watch a cool new show that's not streaming in your country, you can get 3 months of ExpressVPN for free by checking out the link expressvpn.com/ChristinaMachas. Now let's get back into the video. Number 5 is lowering your expectations. This is letting go of the if I just syndrome. You know, like, if I just had that t-shirt, my wardrobe would be perfect. If I just get this, I'll become healthier. The problem with the if I just syndrome is that we create these huge, lofty expectations on this purchase, and inevitably, by the time you get them, they just never measure up. Or maybe at the time they do. Maybe you're super excited about the item, but eventually that newness and that excitement wears off. The problem with I just and setting these high expectations, especially on external purchases, is that not only does all of this eventually fade away, we're just setting ourselves up for disappointment. And again, this ultimately takes us away from everything we have right now. And if we're always looking to the future and looking at what is missing and what we need to add, then we're never really going to be satisfied, even when we do end up getting that thing. Next is to embrace your true joys, in that you want to find the things that you're happy to spend that money on. Because I think a lot of the problems with buyer's remorse is that we regret spending that money, we think it wasn't money well spent. But what about when it's something that you're actually excited to buy and it's something that you love to use, wear, go to? Where are you happy to spend that money? For example, for me, I am a denim collector. I have embraced the idea that I love to buy jeans. I love to research them and try them on and try different kinds. I stopped feeling regretful or remorseful about the idea that I have like too many or that I shouldn't be spending money here. It's money that I'm happy to spend because I just love it. And this can apply to going on vacations, going out for dinners, doing excursions and really fun trips with friends. Where are you happy to spend that money and where does it feel joyful for you? Next is to pay for it in full. Especially when it comes to discretionary spending, I am a huge advocate of paying for things in full because it's never worth it to go into debt for something. And I think that also creates a situation where you can set yourself up for buyer's remorse because not only do you potentially regret the purchase, you also might be stuck paying for it for the next little while with interest. So the way I always aim to pay for something in full is by putting it on my wish list and planning for that item in my budget. And if it's something that was rather unexpected or more impulsive, then I still have to move money around in my budget to make sure that I can pay for it right then and there or pay off my credit card at the end of the month. And this is also where you can tie in some of the other rules, like knowing the return policy and making sure that you can return the item for a full refund if you end up changing your mind about the purchase. But ultimately, when it comes to avoiding buyer's remorse, I don't want to be paying any more for that thing than I did to begin with. Number 8 is a little bit more of a motto, but it's something that always helps me, especially if I'm on the fence of making a purchase or if I'm deciding whether or not I want to return it. And that is, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. By approaching your purchases in a hell yes versus hell no kind of mentality, it really helps draw a firm line and really helps you sort of weed out if you have a visceral yes reaction to something. If I'm excited about a new wardrobe item and I feel amazing as soon as I put it on, I'm smiling, I'm so excited, then it's probably a hell yes. But if I'm kind of doing like this face and sort of figuring things out and seeing if it works here and there, then it's probably going to be a no, in which case I'm not buying it at all or I'm sending it back for a full refund. Whenever I try to convince myself to get a maybe item to work, that's usually when it becomes a buyer's remorse item. So just listen to your gut. Even though the excitement from that hell yes may fade over time, I feel like it's still something that you will continue to really like and, more importantly, continue to use over the item's lifetime. Number 9 is to get a little real with yourself. And that's to simply ask, will I actually use this thing? If you find yourself coming up with really elaborate scenarios in which to actually get use out of this thing, then you're probably not going to use it. Probably going to end up becoming a buyer's remorse item sooner than later. This to me really falls in a similar vein of lowering your expectations when it comes to items, because a lot of times if your expectation or your fantasy for this item is a little bit too high or lofty, then you're just going to end up being disappointed. And the 10th way to avoid buyer's remorse is to focus on experiences over things. While buying new things can be a lot of fun, the payoff of that dopamine hit is pretty short-lived. Now compare that same feeling to a memory of a vacation or a really nice dinner that you had. Oftentimes there's a lot more great things associated with those experiences. You have memories, you remember the laughs, you remember the smells, you remember the excursions. And that feeling is something that's usually just so much more robust and long-lasting than that feeling of buying a new purse or a pair of jeans or something. I mean, that's still really, really fun and can be very exciting, but I think you're a lot less likely to experience a feeling of buyer's remorse or wasted money when that money was spent on an experience that cultivates a memory. And it doesn't have to be anything elaborate either. It could just be getting up on a Sunday morning and going to a coffee shop with a friend. If that ended up being a really fun hang with my bestie, then to me, I would never say that I wasted that $5 on a latte. If you focus spending your money on things that cultivate a feeling or a memory, then I think you'll be a lot less likely to think that that money was wasted. So the truth is that there can never really be a perfect purchase. And even that new thing that you were so excited about and just had to have, eventually that luster fades over time too. But I hope with some of the tips in today's video, you can help minimize that feeling of buyer's remorse and ultimately find ways to make purchases that you were happy to spend the money on. Let me know if you've ever experienced buyer's remorse, what did you purchase, and what would you do differently moving forward? Thanks so much again to ExpressVPN for sponsoring this video. If you wanted to try them free for 3 months, you can just use the link in the description below. If you like this video, it would mean so much to me if you leave me a thumbs up. It's a great way you can help support my channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. And I'll see you in the next one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Bye.